Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good things. Love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so I have Taylor Corr on the line, and he's head of inside sales over at QuantCast. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, excited to have you on the show. I love to geek out and nerd out on AdTech, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about trends in AdTech. But before we do, let's go a little bit further into what you're doing over at QuantCast. Tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Sure. Yeah. So QuantCast has a couple sides to our business. On the one hand, we work with publishers, and we basically provide them audience analytics and also help them navigate consumer privacy and consent. And then the other half of the business where I work, we work directly with advertisers and ad agencies, basically arming them with advertising technology to ultimately help them go sell more stuff. So I lead our inside sales team at QuantCast. You can think of that as our SMB side of the business, and I cover the whole entire United States. So we work with a variety of advertisers, and the big initiative for us right now is we are pushing out our new self-serve platform, Q for marketers. Been a big demand in the industry for self-serve and more of that direct advertiser control. So that's been a big initiative for us, moving to general availability with that platform July 1st.
Man, first off, congrats on that. I love when this happens because I feel like for us small business owners, you know what I mean? Like myself, we're a small media company. There's only 11 of us. We want access to the tools too, Taylor, and we understand that, the big guys typically get it. But, over time with efficiencies and having that self-serve model and other people, I think it's great just for the overall industry. I think it expands it, and pretty common for enterprise to start out with enterprises to validate and to develop the software and to create the model and then to be able to get it to the masses. So congrats on that.
Yeah, thanks. It's I think AdTech in general is heading in that direction.
Let's speaking of, let's transition a bit. Let's go a little bit further into trends that you're seeing in AdTech. What excites you right now? Because I know you're living this day in and day out.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been at QuantCast now for 6 years, and part of the reason I got into the space is AdTech always has something new coming down the pipe, and that there's always changes taking place. Probably the biggest public-facing trend that people have probably seen is this big trend towards privacy. You've got GDPR in Europe, which is the General Data Privacy Regulation, and then CCPA in California, which is very similar, which are basically aimed at protecting consumers' data privacy online. And this impacts everybody. It's, Google, it's Facebook, it's smaller companies like QuantCast in terms of what we can collect and how you protect your identity online. So that has been a huge adjustment, not just for targeting companies like us, but big publishers like, New York Times. How are they going to identify who you are, Adam, when you come to their website, and whether you're in market for auto insurance or a new pair of jeans, really the whole infrastructure of the AdTech marketplace, or the programmatic buying that takes place in AdTech, really hinges on us being able to understand what someone is doing online. And then the twin trend with that is Google, who is they're the dominant player in a lot of spaces, but they have a dominant share of the web browser market with Google Chrome, and they've decided to do away with third-party cookies. So they have a deadline a couple years out from now where they're going to finally, cut off access to cookie data. And so that is something that's looming for the entire industry, because that's really how we identify who to go out and target, and that's how advertisers validate how effective their marketing is. So, I don't know if I'd call that exciting, but it is, a monumental change. It's really going to upend how a lot of companies approach the market right now. So everyone's kind of scrambling to figure out how they're going to adjust to this.
Yeah, it's really tricky. The whole cookies thing, I mean, there's a lot of big companies that have built big businesses, and it's kind of, I mean, it's such a shame to me because part of me is like, it's such this double-edged sword because at one point this data is being used so that you can buy ads, right? Like pay-per-click and other things like that. So you put a lot of money into Google's pocket at one point in doing this, and it's probably part of the way you built that company, or people built their companies at one point, right? And so now to cut that part off, like, and again, not asking you to have a crystal ball because this is all high level stuff, and nobody knows what's going to happen yet. But I'm like, man, what is Google going to do next? I feel like they're going to come up with some model to be able to charge us for something else, and it's just not going to be called a cookie, but it's going to work just like a cookie, and you're just going to have to pay for it now.
The funny thing is, Google doesn't even really know what they're doing yet. They're setting up workshops and they're trying to figure this out with publishers, with other advertising technology companies, and so it's going to be a big project. The IAB, the Interactive Advertising Bureau, is one of the industry bodies in AdTech that has this Project ReArc. So anyone could Google Project ReArc if they're maybe trying to figure out what the future looks like. But a lot of it will probably hinge around privacy and consent. That's why I kind of, think about these trends as interrelated. For example, New York Times, you go to their website, because of these privacy regulations, you have to say, hey, yeah, I accept cookie tracking. And if you've got a login for New York Times, they understand, hey, this is Adam Torres. We know who this person is. Maybe trending towards a larger identifier like that, where publishers get together and they say, okay, well, we have Adam Torres' information over here, and he's also, logged into this news source, maybe it's ESPN or another large publisher, and starting to create kind of a network effect like that. And then maybe a limited amount of data that you volunteer kind of about yourself, because, advertisers still have to reach the right people. We want to hear about new products. So it's about creating a really, effective ecosystem for consumers, so that, you are seeing the right product and you're not bombarded by terrible ads. And for publishers, so they can actually make money. I think there's this big myth that content on the internet is completely free. It's really ad funded. So we still need those ads to get, independent news sources and get that content to our homes.
Yeah, it's just like TV. It's like, because you turn on your TV, if you have regular TV, I mean, you're watching a commercial. Like, somebody's paying to put that TV on. It's not like, I mean, if you have cable, obviously you're paying, or satellite, anything like that. But it's not free. I tell people that. The radio, you might turn it on and it works, but it's not free. Somebody's putting that commercial on there and paying for it. Like, it's not free, just to be clear. So I want to go a little bit further into, with the time we have left, I want to go a little bit further into the self-serve platform. So I know we touched on the beginning of the show, but a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives listening to this right now, and they're looking for solutions. So let's go a little bit further into kind of the nuts and bolts of the platform, what it looks like, functionality. Give us a little bit more of that, please.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, what's interesting is Google and Facebook, these really large companies, obviously, that really dominate the ad tech space. They've had self-serve for a while, and they've set it up so that, if you started, say, a small shoe brand, you could log on to Google tomorrow or Facebook, set up a small campaign, have it up and running with your credit card in a few hours. And so that has created a lot of access, like you were mentioning earlier, for these smaller advertisers to compete with some of these big companies. This direct-to-consumer trend is really fueled by a lot of this direct access to advertising. So, one of the knocks with programmatic sometimes is people think, hey, it's kind of a black box with all this data and machine learning going in. What does my performance look like? They want that transparency into where their ads are going, where they're showing up, levels of fraud, what they're paying for different sources of advertising. So that is a trend that, we've seen come in and different companies have started to, push into. And that's really where we're going with our platform as well. And similar to, consumers wanting more access and direct control over their data, advertisers want that too. And so, providing a platform that instead of having an account manager, set everything up, provide the reporting, which certain advertisers still, really enjoy. There's also a large chunk of advertisers who say, hey, I want that direct control. I want to help, understand which data is going into my targeting. I want to do my own A/B tests, understand the performance, play around with it. You got a lot of folks who are very well versed in ad tech now and know how to, conduct their own programmatic campaigns. So, us at Quantcast, like some other companies have been doing, just arming folks more directly with that data to run their own campaigns.
So any, and you don't have to give a company name or anything like that, but any cases of somebody using this in beta or otherwise that just kind of stick out to you? And the reason I say this is because a lot of times people don't, you don't know what you don't know, right? Obviously that's a given, but they may be listening to this and they're thinking, do I really need that? Like, does it make sense for us? Like, just to put a little bit of meat around it with a story.
Yeah, of course. Where Quantcast has always formed our best partnerships have been really with performance-minded advertisers who are looking for outcome-based marketing. When you go with programmatic, you can run a brand campaign, you can do video, you can do rich media, native, try and get a lot of eyeballs and traffic to your site. But really companies that are really highly performance-focused have always done well with Quantcast platforms. So a couple of our early partnerships have been with these direct-to-consumer brands that we were mentioning. So, a mattress brand and another apparel retailer, which kind of dominate the direct-to-consumer space right now, have seen really phenomenal returns by being able to test and iterate really quickly. One of the things self-serve gives you is a chance to run campaigns, test them out, tweak the ads that you're running, tweak the audiences that you're going after. And so Quantcast, because in our DNA, we work with so many publishers, we've got a lot of different audience data, they're able to build audiences really quickly. And then by putting that directly into market really quickly without that latency between planning and buying, they've seen really phenomenal results, from an ROI perspective and continue to reinvest in the platform. So those early success stories have been really encouraging for us.
Man, that's awesome. So Taylor, that being said, about out of time for this one, but final question, two-part question. If somebody's listening to this and they want more information on Quantcast, first off, what are the right types of businesses that are typically a good fit for Quantcast so that the right people follow up? And number two, what's the best way for them to connect?
Of course, yeah. So for getting in touch with Quantcast directly, they can certainly head over to my LinkedIn page, Taylor Corr, Corr, or directly at quantcast.com and submit an inquiry there to get in touch with the sales team. I mentioned earlier we do really well with performance-focused, outcome-based advertisers online. We also work with ad agencies, independent ad agencies across the country as well. So in addition to that, if you're looking for a video campaign or just audience insights on the publisher side, there's really a variety of solutions. So I encourage folks, if you are involved in digital media, advertising, audience analytics, come check out quantcast.com and we might have a solution for you there.
Fantastic. Well, Taylor, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about all the great work that you're doing over at Quantcast. And congrats on that launch. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Innovation, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Taylor, thanks again for coming on the show.
Really appreciate it, Adam. Thanks a lot.